Would you rather live next door to a nosy neighbor or a ghost who gives you great home improvement advice?
The ghost all day long, for sure. I got a couple nosy neighbors.
I would actually like the ghost to come take their spot if possible. Hey guys, it's Alexis with the Sinka Granny Team here again. Today I have one of my own team members from the Sinka Granny Team, Zach. Hey Zach.
How's it going?
It's going. Thank you for coming on today.
Absolutely.
Today I just wanted to talk a little bit more about real estate and everything that goes on.
Where do you want to start?
Let's start off with you. How long have you been an agent?
Since June of 18.
Wow.
Yeah.
So in the game for some time, but still pretty new.
Yeah, I mean it's been a roller coaster. I mean, see new stuff every day. Every transaction's different. It's always learning something.
Yeah. Totally.
Yep.
What would be one of the biggest misconceptions that buyers do you think would have about talking to real estate agents like you and I? Especially with everything post-settlement. I mean, right now we're in a little bit of a different space, right?
Yeah,
and then
definitely.
we have been in the past.
Yeah. I mean, you can't afford not to have an agent work for you. I think that's what it comes down to. If you have a good agent on your side, I mean, they're invaluable from start to finish in the transaction. I mean, even down to the lender relationships that they have, right? You know, pairing you up with the right people throughout the whole process. I mean, you can't replace it.
No, I 100% agree, especially with everything that I'm learning in real estate. Still very new as an agent side, but definitely have been in the space of real estate for a little bit of 2 years, right?
Yeah.
So being able to be on this side of the fence and see how valuable it is for investors or clients, because whether you're somebody that's living in the home just for your family or whether you're purchasing a home for an investment of some sorts, a real estate agent is hands down probably the biggest thing that somebody needs in their transaction.
Yeah.
You can do it on your own. That just doesn't mean it's the right way.
I mean, I can tell you this much. Even actively looking for properties out of state, I've been in the business. I've done quite a bit of transactions in my career. I still would not go perform a transaction for myself in a different state.
That's insane.
Yeah. You can't afford not to.
Because it's a different market, right?
Different market, different practices, right? All the way down to writing the offer, right? I mean, a competitive offer here is a different competitive offer in a different market, right? You don't know. And a lot of people don't know what they don't know, and it screws them on the back end.
What do you think stops them from wanting to have these conversations with us?
The part-timers. You always hear about someone in the business that's part-time, and don't get me wrong, there's some great agents out there that can do that, but for the most part, I mean, a lot of people go get their real estate license thinking that it's just driving around showing houses and drinking their Starbucks coffee, right?
That's what Selling Sunset had it sold out to be, and unfortunately that's not the world that we live in, right? And we can't speak for every agent, because I'm sure that tell us one of the craziest stories that you've ever had to encounter with the agent from the other side, whether it's from the buying side or the selling side. One of the most outrageous things that you're like, I cannot believe this person's in practice, because those people exist. Oh, yeah. I mean, it's a shame to say, but probably more than half the agents that you work with on the other side, buyer or seller, I mean, they're not qualified, right? And, hard to pinpoint it. I know. Sorry. It doesn't have to be the craziest, but just something that, can really show, I guess, signs when people do interview with agents, because I feel like people go with the first agent that they come across and they think like, okay, this is a person for me. I'm just going to I'm going to put all my eggs in this basket and I'm just going to go with them. And then that person just doesn't have good practices. And then it leaves that client with the bad taste in their mouth. Like, agents don't perform. They are just door openers. And then we get those stigmas behind us where we get that we're telemarketers or we're, just salespeople. There's a lot more to that.
Absolutely. I think a good sign from an agent that you probably shouldn't work with is if they call you up, you start talking to them, and they're like, hey, talk to this person, the lender. Call me when you're done with them. That's terrible. I don't practice business like that. I don't think any agent should. Yeah. Sit down and talk to them, educate them about the process.
Or even with your lender.
Yeah. I mean, I personally don't do that because I want to build a relationship one-on-one with my client first before I bring in another person that's going to ask them for all their personal information, right? I want to educate you about the process because more times than not, like my core of buyers are first-time home buyers. Right? So most likely they're renting or they're getting ready to move out of their family's house, right? What's their first thing that they want to do whenever they want to move out of the property? Go rent, right? And a lot of people don't realize it's actually easier to buy a house nowadays and cheaper than it is to rent, right?
Oh, yes. I in the start of my career, it's been a lot of renters that I've been able to transact on. And they do pay a hefty amount to get into a home. Now, not everybody can qualify to get into a home. There are some certain qualifications that you have to hit in order to be able to take out a mortgage. But that's to my point. They need to talk to us, right? Because we have those tools that can put them in a position to know how to get to that point, or if they are at that point, then these are the options that are available for you. Yeah. And that's the biggest thing.
100%. I mean, I've had clients where I've worked with them for 4 years until they were actually able to get to the point of buying a house, right? So
that's a long time.
It was a lot of follow-up, a lot of, one-on-one sitting down with them. It wasn't just, set a reminder in my CRM and keep calling them every couple months. It was sitting down with them, reevaluating, hey, where are we at this point? All right, cool. This is how we need to pivot to get to the next spot in order to buy that house, right? And unfortunately, a lot of agents out there, they're just, if you're not ready to buy right now, they don't want to talk to you, right?
See you later.
Yeah.
Is that the kind of...
Pretty much it, yeah.
It's very transactional based.
Yeah, they don't care. So, that's my biggest thing is, make sure you're finding somebody who's going to work for you and actually care about you getting into a home, whether it's first time or your 10th transaction or it's investment properties, right? You got to have somebody that cares.
What is the oldest person that you've put in to a home as a first-time buyer? Because it's never too late, right?
First time? Ooh. That's a hard one. I'd probably say in their 60s or 70s, yeah.
I've had a conversation with the lady, and it touches my heart that she's like, I don't know if it's too late in my life to start this process, and I don't think it, especially because she has grandchildren, she has family members, she has. Sometimes you just have to show people you just start, because if not, 10 years down the line, that could have been towards a mortgage 100%. Or towards somebody else's mortgage. Because regardless, it's going towards somebody's no. And you don't have tax incentives when you're renting, right? There's nothing. It's just money that's gone.
You're just literally lighting on fire.
But you get to live there, and there's benefits to renting. I'm not saying that you always have to go buy a house, right? Because that's not always the case, especially in everybody has different situations. But if you can afford to buy, or if you're curious on the steps to buying, then talk to anybody.
Right.
Please talk to us. If you put in an inquiry on Facebook or any real estate thing, and then an agent reaches out to you and you're like, I'm not going to answer. Stop. Pick up the phone. Just have a conversation with that person. If it doesn't work out with that person, then it doesn't work out with them.
Yeah. Remember, talk about real estate. All right.
But it's true though. We're not those used car salesmen. We're not. I can't speak for every agent out there. But when I was interviewing different brokerages and I was figuring out where my landing spot was going to be, because I think that's a huge, crucial part, especially as a new agent, and deciding on where you're going to go, because that's what influences you, right? And how you do practice and how you carry yourself and et cetera. This team has something special. They're very hands-on, always transacting for the client, and what ways can we figure out how to get this client the very best deal. And it's in the vendors that we use. It's in the knowledge that we take every day. I mean, there's nothing unfortunately, there's there's continuing education to a certain degree for an agent, right? But it's not what you would expect, like for somebody that's going to become a doctor.
Yeah.
It's very entrepreneurship. It's very, you take this business how you're going to do it for you.
Yeah. And I'm sure you've noticed on our team, we really try to take pride in staying ahead of the market curve, right? And don't get me wrong, like it's beneficial for us, right? But we do that at the end of the day for our clients. So we can set those expectations and let them know, hey, this is where we first see the market trending, right? And it works on both sides. It helps out the sellers, right? Sets the expectations for them, and of course the buyers as well. So it's we try to make that a priority and educate everybody on the team of, hey, where is the market going? And that's why we had the weekly meetings, right? Hey, what are we seeing this week in the market? Because our Vegas market, it changes a lot quicker than a lot of other markets.
Our market is very different, especially from our investment opportunities out here compared to Midwest states, coastal states. I feel like every state has like their niche of what they can and can't do. Especially in Vegas, like the investment strategies here. You can do short term, you can do midterm. There's just workarounds around it. It's a lot harder than in other states. And a lot of other states, they may be more profitable in those certain areas. Do you partake in any investment?
Yeah. Both on the long-term side and the short-term, as far as, long-term holds and then short-term, flipping properties and whatnot. Definitely involved on both sides of that. And
that's a perfect way to be able to help somebody, because a normal person can be an investor, because 100%. Purchasing your first home is an investment in 1,000%. Yourself.
Yeah. I mean, think of it as a savings account, right? Every time you're paying down and making that monthly payment, that principal is getting paid down, right? And of course, too, we have annual market growth and whatnot. But yeah, you're essentially putting money away every month. Yeah.
No, and I don't think people realize what a home can actually do for them. Whether I know a lot of people have their mind wrapped around, well, I have to purchase the very best home as my first purchase, and that's so far from the truth.
Yep.
I don't think that it's really thrown out there how important it is to actually get into the market. Like I know it's tossed around, but I don't think it's embedded in people that it's true that once you get that momentum going, once you get that first property, that's how like your whole dynamics change.
Yeah, I mean, I usually tell my clients, get your bite into the market while you can, right? Because eventually, I foresee Vegas becoming the next California, right? So do you really want to wait around?
You jumped ahead of me there.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I'm sorry.
No, but it's good. Go with it.
Yeah. A lot of people don't realize that you got to get your bite into the market while you can. Because, I mean, what have we seen over the past 8 years in real estate, right? Just keeps ticking up and up and up and up. So eventually affordable housing, I mean, that won't be a thing here, just like in California. I don't know the particular statistics on it, but pretty much everyone I know that's in California or that has moved here, they're all renting, right? And majority of them that come here are able to buy a house and can afford to buy a house. So that has to carry over here at some point, right?
Well, and think about our valley. Okay, Nevada is obviously larger than Las Vegas, but Las Vegas is not the biggest state that has ever existed, right? The land that is here is the land that is it. So we are going to come to a certain point in time where we can't build anymore. I'm sure you've seen it. Those parcels of lands that used to be all over our valley, they're starting to dwindle down. They're not there anymore. They're building, whether it's business infrastructures, housing, pretty much. So it is a very good point that you can see that. I mean, we're no crystal ball teller. Like we can't rub some belly and
we wouldn't be here right now if we
were.
No.
Or maybe we would because we're playing our cards right. But it is a really good point that Vegas is on the up and up. And my biggest point that I want to get in doing this podcast is people that are here, people that feel like, people from California are coming and taking their houses or whatever their opinion is on what's going on. Stop focusing on that and focus on you, yourself, your goals, what you want to do, what you're looking to achieve. Stop looking at what this is going to stop this from happening, or no.
Yeah, well, I mean, that carries into a whole nother topic. I mean, that's just, I feel like life in general, people are trying to compare themselves, to other people based off social media and whatnot, right?
No, but it's really predominant in people's house. Like, it's crazy to me because I talk to some of these renters and they'll be renting at this place for 7 to 10 years.
Yeah.
And I know that they want to not have the rent increase, right? They don't want to have to worry about if next year the landlord isn't going to want to renew their lease because the landlord does whatever they do for their business and their business structure. And maybe they have to sell the house because they don't want to raise the rent on that person, or whatever that case may be. What people have to do, it's good for them, but they won't have to deal with those situations if they get in the market.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be realistically, you could probably rent out a better house than what you can purchase, based off of a lot of different factors. DTI, the amount of what a mortgage would be compared to rent.
Yeah, well, I mean, rates definitely did change that, right? I mean, that interest rate shift definitely made it where, like you said, you can go rent a bigger and better house than you can go buying a house, right? At the end of the day. So, but you're just lighting that money on fire every month, right? So I think it's very important to, like you said, stress stress to people that, hey, you got to get out of that position. You got to stop comparing yourself to other people and whatnot, and bite that bullet. Go talk to a professional.
No, and that's the. I don't have to have a transaction with every single person that I talk to. I know that varies for agent, and I try to speak in the best of people. But if you get with the right agent, that agent doesn't necessarily want to have a transaction with you. Does it benefit you and them? Maybe, possibly. But that's not always the case. If we can get you to a point where maybe some time down the line, maybe you move states, but then you have this knowledge to then not go into this new state and fall into that stigma of, well, I'm just going to rent for a year, and then that year turns into 5 years, and then you're repeating the same cycle over and over and over again. Like that, we're getting nowhere.
Yeah.
What are the biggest upsides that you have seen for homeownership, even with just your primary, as just...
I mean, there's so many. Generational wealth, I think, is the biggest one. Kind of going back to what you were saying, someone moving to another state and whatnot, or someone says they're moving here to Vegas and they want to rent for a year or two to figure out if they like staying here, right? Most likely, if you're doing that, you want to take that avenue and you decide you don't like Vegas and you want to leave, well, you're going to most likely have a bill from that landlord. Oh. Right?
You don't say.
They're going to find every way to say, hey, this house is not in the same condition that you rented it in. And what are they going to do? They're going to take your security deposit, right? You could live here for 6 months after buying a house and say, hey, I don't like it here. I'm going to rent it out, right? And move on to wherever you want to go. Kind of rolling that into the next thing is, you also talked about people relocating out of state. I've had many clients that call me and say, hey, we need to sell the house. We're moving to whatever state. We need to get it listed on the market ASAP. My first thing, I don't pull up to see how much that house is worth. I pull up what the rental comps are. Don't get me wrong. I'd love to sell your house, right? I'd love to get that paycheck, but what's in your best interest, right? If I can send you to another state, which you're probably looking for another job at that point, right? Probably lacking income in a lot of cases. If we can rent that property out and get you some additional income coming in to help qualify or be able to possibly rent that next house that you're moving to, that's awesome, And don't get me wrong, some people just, they don't want to deal with rentals and whatnot. And at that point, all right, cool. At least you saw the numbers and you can make that decision. But there's so many agents out there that are like, all right, cool, let me list your house tomorrow. And a lot of times their clients might take a bath on it if they just recently bought the house. So we try to look more than just, hey, we're listing your house and going to sell it. You know, let's look at all of our options here. And a lot of times renting, it's the better option rather than getting rid
especially
of it.
this market.
Yeah. Especially if you have a rate anything under 4%, right? You know, most likely your rental rate is going to be higher than what your mortgage payment is.
I'm so glad that you brought up rates, because a lot of people do either want to upsize, downsize. They don't like the current neighborhood they're in. They want to get closer to work. They want to get closer to better schools. Whatever the case may be, right? There's so many ways for people to bite the bullet, right? And I understand, like, if you have a 3% interest rate, it might not seem so advantageous to go out and pull out a loan for a 7% interest rate, right? Yeah. That just sometimes doesn't make sense. There's so many different ways to go about fighting rates like that, whether it's with new builds, with assuming somebody's mortgage, taking on the loan that person's currently in. You do have to have some more capital with deals like that. Yeah. But I feel like a lot of agents don't know how to give those options to their clientele. So then people don't know. So I feel like, have you ever had any deals like that? I'm sure you've had, where you've had to work some strategic things to make something make sense for somebody, and you got to do that by being able to have that conversation with that person and actually figuring out what it was that they were looking to achieve.
Yeah. Assumable loans, you brought that up. They're great, especially if you have some capital to pay that difference of the principal payoff versus what they're wanting. The other one too is, again, going back to rental rate, right? Yeah, you have a 3% interest rate and you don't want to pay that 7%. Well, you can't really control that, right? For the most part. So again, let's look at what the rental rate is. Can we offset that interest rate difference, right? So basically you take that same house, what would it have been at a 3% interest rate versus a 7% now? Let's say it's a $1,000 a month difference. Well, how much is that rent going to offset that $1,000 difference per month? You get what I'm saying?
No, I'm following you.
Right? So, yeah, I mean, that's another tactic. And then you hit it on the head too with new builds. I mean, new builds, they'll give the house away, essentially.
Yeah, I've seen 4.3. I've seen as low as, I think, 3.89 something. There's so many options out there, but people aren't asking the right questions, so they aren't getting the correct answers. Yeah. And that's just what it comes down to. Yeah. There's deals that are able to be made in any market and in any situation. And I feel like that's one of the biggest misconceptions, is people are always trying to time something, or they're like, well, we're going to wait for interest rates to go down. And obviously we just had an election and we saw how that turned out. And obviously there's going to be some changes, right? So can interest rates start to drop faster than we thought? Yeah, that actually maybe potentially they could, right? And for me, I understand that a lot of people can't afford to purchase right now with current interest rates. I'm very much aware of that, right? But I am cautious of interest rates dropping too fast. And the inventory that we've worked so hard to get back here, especially in our valley. I can't speak for everywhere. I know other places are getting back to normal, and some places are like us where they're barely skimming by, right?
Yeah. I thought it was a blessing in disguise when those rates shot up.
They needed to.
Yeah, I felt like if it would have continued to go the track it was going for another 3 to 6 months, we would have seen a collapse in the
Prices
market.
Would have been 50 to 100,000.
Yeah.
Higher as a medium price if trends would have continued on. And I feel like that's not talked about enough, or it's not. Yes, interest rates need to go down for certain people to be able to enter the market, or for certain investors, or whatever your portfolio looks like for you.
Yeah.
But we don't want that to happen because I feel like prices stabilize a lot longer than what interest rates do,
Healthy
right?
growth. Yeah, you want healthy growth in the market, not this manufactured growth built
No.
off of
It's a balloon.
supply and demand. I mean, that's what it came down to, right? Money was so cheap, the interest rates, right? So people were willing to go spend $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 above list price. And that just artificially grew the market way more than it needed to real quick, based off of one comp, right? So generally in the market, a typical market, you can probably get away with like a 3% increase from the past sold comp. That's a good rule of thumb. The appraiser will most likely give you that. But people were seeing their neighbor's house sell for $450, and then they'd list their house for $550. Like, the market doesn't work that way. But the problem was there was not enough inventory where
People got away with it.
yeah, someone had $100,000 cash laying around. They're like, hey, I need a house. I need a place to live. Here's $100,000. Want to know why? Because they just set the new comp. So next week when that other house hit the market, guess what? They're going to probably be at 550, 575, right? So yeah, it was a crazy time in that market. Like if you can't afford to buy a house in this market, you will not be able to afford to buy a house in the next market of rates going down, because it's going to be the same thing, right? If you don't have that down payment now, you sure as hell won't be able to compete in that market if the rates drop tremendously.
It really is unfortunate.
Yeah.
Now, whether you can buy based off of credit or whatever that case may be, I would really advise to get with somebody that's in real estate, because we know somebody that knows how to also get something done and to be able to even get you into the correct, like, my biggest thing is we need to figure out where that starting line is for you, in order for us to be able to cross that finish line.
Yeah.
And if we're forever searching for it, it's just going to keep going down and down and down to the point where we can't even see that starting line anymore.
Yeah.
So it makes crossing that finish line almost near impossible.
Yeah. I think the thing with us too, we're going to tell you something that you might not want to hear, but you should hear, right? You may want that, single family, 1-story home, 3-bed, 2-bath, but guess what? All you can qualify for is a 1-bedroom condo. Go get it, right? Go get it. Because like I said earlier, I mean, get your bite into the market while you can, because eventually that finish line that you said, it's not going to be there. You won't see it one day. So take those stepping stones, right? Today it's a 1-bedroom condo, maybe it's a townhome the next one, and then 4 or 5 houses down the line, you get your dream home.
And Vegas, I feel like, I can't speak for other states. I mean, I have eyes and I've seen other states and I have my opinions on them, but I can't speak about our state, right? I live here. I've lived here for almost 26 years of my life. And Vegas is continuously working on itself, whether it's from our highways, even if it's an inconvenience to us, why we're on our way to work, on our way home, trying to go to the store. No, it's good because we want that. We want those things. We want minor inconveniences for greater causes, right? And obviously, those minor inconveniences, they do bring us way more value. I mean, safer roads. We have better infrastructures, better whatever Vegas is working on, it's working. And it's continuously working, even in areas that are, lack to be desired. Businesses that are choosing to go in those areas, I mean, they're like B-list, almost A-list businesses in C-list neighborhoods.
Yeah.
That's something that's not happening everywhere else.
Right.
I feel like Vegas has got it figured out.
That alone should tell you what's going on in the market, right? If you have one of those big department stores going in or something like that, or higher end businesses, like you said, if they're coming into the market, what's that telling you? That's telling you that there's money going into that area and they plan on revitalizing it. I mean, look at Water Street, right?
That's a great area.
Yeah. Water Street was trash, and they've spent millions and millions and millions of dollars back into that part of town. I mean, it's pretty cool to see. But yeah, if you go back and look at what home prices were in that area 8 years ago versus what they are now, it's just insane.
The tacos are here. You want to tell him?
Yeah.
Do they edit all this stuff out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can call him, text him.
Okay. And cut! No, just kidding. And we stop right now. Mario's a little bit late anyway, so we got some. We'll carry on to this, and then once the tacos come here, and then I'll ask you some funny questions.
Cool.
I'll try to wrap it up. That is a great point, though. Especially in Henderson, we work out of Henderson. I live in North Las Vegas. I've been all around Vegas, so I get to see the different areas working on itself. Henderson, by far, is the most advanced, by far. Summerlin's, they're right there, but maybe they don't have as much parcels of land or as much wiggle room to work, but everything that's coming into Henderson, it's insane.
Yeah.
And that's why the median price in Henderson is a lot higher than in Las Vegas, which is Las Vegas is tacked on with Summerlin. So it is very interesting to see that a smaller portion of our valley is the most expensive portion of our valley.
Yeah. It is crazy because, you get someone that moves out of state here to, Las Vegas, maybe from California or whatnot, and they start asking about the different parts of town. I usually just say, let's hop in the car. Let's just go drive, right? We don't even need to look at some houses. We're just going to start on one end of town, take the 215. Start on one side and then wrap all the way around. And then if you want, we can cut through the 95 and the 15. And you tell me where are we going, right? And it's funny, a lot of times people always end up back in Henderson. It's beautiful, for one, right? And then when they start looking into home prices as well, it's funny that the median price is higher in Henderson.
It is.
But I feel like you get more bang for your buck. I don't know what it is.
Maybe in the community, the amenities, what you're waking up to, what you, the feel, the businesses that are around here. Businesses are strong in Henderson. I don't know if that's true facts, but from what I've seen in my little eyes,
you don't have like a fact checker on this thing, do you?
They seem to be on the up and up. They seem to be doing well. It's just, this is what a great place to live.
Yeah, it's exciting.
I'm excited to be not only licensed to be able to help people, make some great decisions here in Las Vegas, but to actually be able to be a part of such a great community. There's always something going on. Especially with everything that's coming here, sports wise, everything. I feel like this is it.
Yeah. What's your biggest success story so far in your young career?
In my, probably with my renters.
Yeah.
Obviously that's been one of the biggest transactions that I've had thus far. But just being able to help these people, I've had a lot of pre-quals with 2 of my renters, and they didn't choose to buy, which is fine. That's not my goal in getting them in front of a loan officer. What I did was, now they know. Now they know where that starting point is. They have a goal now, and now it's up to them if they want to continue on to that goal.
Yep.
But they know exactly what it's going to take for them to be able to purchase a house. And then hopefully if they stick to that goal, they're going to be transacting in a year or less.
Yeah.
And that's insane. Like that's something that I'm even proud to even be able to have gotten them to that point.
Yeah. You should be. It's, again, you're going and educating people to even get them that far, right? A lot of these renters, people won't even call them back, right?
No, they won't.
Yeah. Not only are you calling them back, you're showing them the rentals, but you're also guiding them along the way to say, hey, here's your options, right? Pick one, right? You went through the process. It might not be for you right now, and that's fine. That's okay. But at least as for me as an agent, at least I know I put it out there. So if they decide to make that choice to rent versus buy, it's like, all right, cool. At least they had all the information put in front of them.
No, that's great because it is. It really, even with renters to your point, a lot of agents don't call them back. And it's baffling to me because they need help just as much as somebody that's buying or selling.
Just to get into a property. It's crazy. No one will call them back.
No, and then they have to go to some slimy apartment complex that does weird things on a Tuesday. No, I'm just kidding. Not all apartment complexes have weird things going on a Tuesday, but
Wednesdays.
Where's our tacos? Today I got us tacos.
Thank you.
From Taquera Los Catrines. I'm butchering this. I'm trying. I can roll my R's, but I can't read. No, I'm just kidding.
Not getting this one as a sponsor. I'm sorry.
No, I'm not getting it. So this side of the segment, I kind of like asking some funny questions that I kind of looked up from ChatGPT, aka my assistant.
Love it.
That's unpaid. No, I pay for it actually.
You pay for ChatGPT? It's like a paid thing?
Yeah, if you want cooler features. Yeah,
Oh, really?
Maybe I don't get cooler features and I'm just the one that pays for it. But you want to know what? I don't care because honestly, AI has it's been there for me when I just use it. Yeah. Honestly, ChatGPT may work for somebody else what it does for me, but I mean I feel like technology is there for us to use. And not so much to be afraid of or against. I just feel like, we don't heat our houses up by rubbing two sticks together. So we might as well act like we live from the 21st century and act accordingly.
Yeah.
Instead of backwards.
Use it for all my listing descriptions. So get good.
I'm starting to get good. I know I shouldn't go off a tangent, but I can't stand reading some of these agents' descriptions. It's not... They're so indirect. It's mind baffling. Mm-hmm. They just use the same words, nonsense words.
Gorgeous, beautiful, spacious.
Once in a lifetime. Oh, really? 4 walls and a roof is once in a lifetime?
You'll never get it again.
Or investor special. Anytime I see investor special, I already know that property is $50,000 more than what it needs to
at least you know.
And the public reads those remarks, so it's wild to me.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Reel her in. Would you rather live next door to a nosy neighbor or a ghost who gives you great home improvement advice?
The ghost all day long, for sure. I got a couple nosy neighbors.
I would actually like the ghost to come take their spot if possible.
All right, next one.
What's the most outrageous feature that you would add to your house if money was no option?
Money was no option.
No option, like big baller. Like we got
a giant moat with some alligators around it.
I know, that's what I said my first podcast.
Did you? All right. Next then. I can't be the same.
But it would ward off the weak.
Ward off those nosy neighbors. That's what it would do.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah. Man.
Could you have like a shark tank or something? Maybe one which you could swim with the sharks?
That'd be real cool. Actually, you ever watch that movie, Why Him? Mm-mm. You've never seen it?
Mm-mm.
Never mind then.
Mm-mm.
You've never seen it?
You brought it up. You got to give us some context now.
So it's a pretty funny movie. It's basically this family goes to visit this girlfriend's boyfriend, right? And he's freaking loaded, right? But he's kind of dumb, right? So the first time he meets him, he takes off his shirt and he has like the family tattoo of their greeting card for like happy holidays. Like, hey, just wanted to impress you guys. But anyways, he had this all sorts of stupid stuff in his house. And then he has this moose. It's kind of disgusting. And the fact that you haven't seen the movie, I'm going to try to describe it to you without grossing you out. He has this moose in this case. He's like, yeah, that's my moose. What's he covered in? The family goes, and he's like, oh, yeah, it's his own urine. You've never seen the movie? No. You're going to have to clip this into the podcast so your viewers are like, who the hell is this guy? But that'd probably be my next one. Just,
Okay.
just to say I got it.
Good. What to say? All right.
Yeah.
My last one. What's the craziest negotiation request or something that has been left in the house? Either or. I'll let you to decide.
Man.
Your fate. Your story.
Craziest thing left in the house or negotiation.
Yeah, like they needed this negotiated into the deal. They were not walking away with this house unless this was in the deal.
I got one for a seller that wasn't going to close unless I got these terms satisfied for him.
Okay.
Kind of a little messed up, but it was a divorce situation. And
those happen. That's real life.
It happens, and we're literally 2 days before closing, right? And some stuff went down before then. Before it was a very peaceful transaction. Then all of a sudden, 2 days before, it just went off the hinges. And the wife, she calls me and she's like, I'm not closing on this house until you tell my husband to give me I think it was $75,000, bring my car to this spot right here and park it for me because I'm not going back to the house, and a whole laundry list of things. And I'm like, yeah, no, you need to have your attorney do all that. I'm not getting paid nearly enough for that. I think that was probably the craziest one because it totally caught me off guard. It was literally the last couple days in the transaction.
And that's dealing with human emotions. And I know it's a tough subject when it comes to divorces or deaths or life happening. But I guess that just reels it back to everything. You need to talk to somebody that knows something that can help you get to your certain something.
Yeah.
And that's just the reality of it is. And that's what that's my biggest thing that I hope to gain from this podcast, whether somebody chooses to do business with me or not. I hope that they decide to do business for themselves and they start educating themselves and they start asking the correct questions to be able to set themselves up and their family and whatever that may look like for them for a better future. Yeah. And that's
absolutely.
That's what Talk About Real Estate with Alexis from the Sinka Granny Team is all about. Thank you guys for coming on another episode here with us. I appreciate all of your guys' listening, views, comments, concerns, anything that you guys are interested in learning about or have any questions about, please write down in the comments. That way we can be able to talk about it in the next episode. If you like Zach, please let me know. I definitely would like to have you back on
Absolutely.
the podcast. Yeah. Where can we find you at? How can people be able to do transactions with you? And if they do have those certain questions, how can they get a hold of you?
Social media. Best thing to do is call me. I don't really...
How do we do that?
702-419-3184.
You just find me on social. Just based off my first name, Zach.
Yeah. I'm not the best at social media. My presence isn't there too much. Maybe after this, that'll change, and sprucing up my social media profile.
Yeah, we should because it's a great way for people to be familiarized with you. Because that's what people want to do business with who they're familiar with, who they trust, and who they know is going to do right by them. So I appreciate you taking time out your day, especially with everything going on. So thank you, and I can't wait to have you back.
Yeah. Just want to add, you've been amazing. You've been kicking ass on the team, and it's really cool to see you dive into this 100%. I mean, it's been amazing watching you do all the stuff that even veteran agents don't even do. So keep it going. It's pretty awesome.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me.